Thela moved silently through the maintenance tunnels, her Federation training finally serving a purpose she could believe in. The sounds of the suppression unit echoed through the habitat, boots on metal flooring, terse commands, the whine of scanning equipment. She reached the main dome's control center and crouched beneath a console, inputting the activation sequence Nathaniel had shown her. The countermeasure system hummed to life, deploying a network of thermal disruptors that would mask the shelter's heat signatures. Search complete in habitat sections 1 through 4. No targets located. A voice reported nearby. Continue to sections 5 and 6. The human is here somewhere. The second voice was coldly familiar. Commander Vexus himself had come for this mission. Thela froze. Her former mentor's presence complicated matters significantly. Vexus was brilliant and ruthless. If anyone could see through her deception, it would be him. And the Zeridian officer? Another voice asked. Junior Officer Thela is inexperienced but loyal, Vexus replied. If she hasn't made the arrest yet, she may need assistance. Find her. Thela's antennae twitched violently. There was deception in his words, not about her inexperience, but about his expectations. He didn't expect her to succeed. He expected her to fail in a particular way. She needed to get back to the shelter, but the patrol patterns made a direct return impossible. Moving carefully between shadows, she worked her way toward the hydroponics dome through external maintenance hatches. Outside, the barren moon's dusty surface provided little cover. Thela kept low, using abandoned equipment as concealment. The gas giant loomed enormous in the sky, its swirling storms casting strange, shifting light across the landscape. She was halfway to the hydroponics dome when a spotlight caught her. Officer Thela, Commander Vexus's amplified voice called out. Report your status. With no escape route, Thela straightened and faced the approaching Federation officers, composing her features to hide her newfound knowledge. Commander, she saluted as Vexus approached, flanked by 4 heavily armed officers. I've been searching the external structures for the human. Vexus studied her, his cybernetic eye whirring slightly as it adjusted focus. And the results of your search? Negative, sir. No sign of the target. The commander's expression remained neutral, but something cold flickered in his organic eye. Interesting. Our scans indicated you spent considerable time in the main habitat earlier. Yes, sir. I located evidence of recent occupation, but the target appears to have fled. Evidence such as? Vexus prompted. Thela hesitated only microseconds. Food preparation, discarded items. Nothing of intelligence value. I see. Vexus glanced at his officers. Continue the search. Focus on subsurface structures. As they moved away, he turned back to Thela. Walk with me, junior officer. They moved slowly toward the main habitat, Vexus's cybernetic legs making soft mechanical sounds with each step. You were selected for this mission very specifically, Thela, he said conversationally. Your psychological profile indicated strong idealism, rigid adherence to regulations, and, most importantly, limited capacity for independent analysis. The insult stung, but Thela kept her expression neutral. I'm honored by the confidence placed in me, sir. Are you? Vexus stopped walking, turning to face her fully. Because our surveillance drones indicate you had the human in custody earlier. Yet you didn't report this. Thela's mind raced. I wanted to verify his identity, sir. The target was not as described in the briefing. How so? He appeared to be caring for children, sir. The briefing mentioned nothing about minors at this location. Vexus waved a dismissive hand. Irrelevant details. The human has violated Federation law. Your duty is clear. Yes, sir, Thela agreed, trying to project conviction she no longer felt. But Federation Protocol Section 97B requires special handling when minors are involved. These aren't Federation minors, Vexus said sharply. They're contraband. The word struck Thela like a physical blow. Children classified as objects, it confirmed everything Nathaniel had shown her about the Federation's moral corruption. Now, Vexus continued, you will tell me where the human is hiding. That's an order, junior officer. For the first time in her career, Thela contemplated direct disobedience. Her antennae remained perfectly still, no conflict about this decision. I don't know, sir, she lied smoothly. As I reported, the habitat was abandoned when I conducted my search. Vexus's cybernetic eye whirred again, focusing intently on her face. You disappoint me, Thela. I had hoped we wouldn't need to resort to invasive methods. He gestured, and 2 officers emerged from the habitat, carrying scanning equipment. Since you refuse to cooperate, we'll simply TR. Enforcement Vessel Judicator, this is Junior Officer Thela reporting mission status. Commander Vexus's hollow projection flickered before her, his scaled face impassive, as always. Proceed with your report, officer. Is the human secured? Thela stood at perfect attention, her uniform immaculate thanks to Nathaniel's careful pressing. Behind her, out of the projection's view, Nathaniel and the children waited silently. Commander, I am formally requesting an independent investigation into the charges against Nathaniel Blackwood, citing Enforcement Code 357A, evidence of falsified charges. Vexus's expression hardened. That was not your assignment, Officer Thela. With respect, sir, my assignment was to uphold Federation law, she countered, her antennae steady despite her racing pulse. I have discovered evidence suggesting the charges against Mr. Blackwood are politically motivated and designed to silence his legitimate whistleblowing activities. Your inexperience is showing, officer, Vexus said coldly. The human has clearly manipulated you with emotional tactics. Return to your vessel immediately for psychological evaluation. Thela had anticipated this response. Without breaking eye contact with her commander, she inserted Nathaniel's data crystal into her communicator's port. I am hereby transmitting evidence of systemic corruption within Federation resource extraction operations, including profit distributions to senior enforcement officials. Her voice remained steady as the upload began. This transmission is being simultaneously broadcast to all Federation outposts in this sector, as well as to the independent journalists at the Galactic Truth Network. Vexus's composure shattered. You are committing career suicide, Thela. Terminate this transmission immediately. The evidence speaks for itself, Commander, she replied calmly, as do the testimonies of these children, survivors of the very operations our agency has been defending. She stepped aside, allowing the children to enter the projection field. One by one, they identified themselves and their lost homeworlds, their young voices steady as they recounted atrocities witnessed firsthand. Vexus was apoplectic now. You are hereby stripped of your rank and designated a hostile agent. The Judicator will commence orbital bombardment of your position in 30 minutes. The transmission cut abruptly, but not before Thela confirmed the data upload had completed. She turned to Nathaniel, who was already mobilizing the children. That went about as expected, she said with forced lightness, though her hands trembled slightly. Nathaniel pulled her into a quick embrace. You were magnificent. But now we need to move, fast. They had prepared for this possibility. While Pax led the younger children through a secondary escape tunnel toward Thela's enforcement vessel, Nathaniel and Thela hurried to distribute emergency supplies and activate the habitat's self-destruct sequence. This place has been home for years, Nathaniel said quietly as he initiated the countdown. But homes can be rebuilt. Thela squeezed his hand. We'll build a new one. Together. As they raced through the tunnels, the first impacts from the Judicator's preliminary bombardment shook the moon's surface. Dust and debris rained down, but the ancient mining passages held firm. When they reached Thela's vessel, Pax had already begun the pre-flight sequence, his reptilian digits flying across the unfamiliar controls with remarkable adaptability. Everyone strapped in? Nathaniel called out as they sealed the airlock. The children responded with various affirmations as Thela took the pilot's seat. This craft isn't designed for this many passengers, she warned. And every Federation vessel in the sector will be looking for us. Then it's fortunate we're not heading into Federation space, Nathaniel replied, taking the co-pilot position. From his pocket, he produced a small, iridescent navigation chip. The Resistance has outposts beyond the outer rim. People who've been fighting this corruption for years. Thela's eyes widened. You're part of an organized movement. Did you think I was working alone? He asked with a small smile. There are many in the Federation who've seen what I've seen, who've been gathering evidence, creating safe havens. Your broadcast just gave them the opening they've been waiting for. As the vessel lifted off, the habitat behind them erupted in a controlled explosion, destroying any evidence of their presence. The Judicator loomed in orbit above, its weapon systems locking onto their small craft. Brace for evasive maneuvers. Thela called out, her academy training kicking in as she pushed the engines beyond their specifications. The vessel shuddered as energy blasts scorched past them. Incoming transmission, Nathaniel announced, surprise evident in his voice. Multiple sources. The communications array lit up with signals from vessels that had suddenly appeared at the edge of the system, civilian craft, outdated but numerous, positioning themselves between the Judicator and Thiela's fleeing vessel. A gruff voice came through the speakers. "This is Captain Aloxi of the Free Traders Alliance. We received your broadcast, Officer Thiela. Safe passage is yours. We'll keep the enforcement busy." More vessels dropped out of hyperspace, a motley collection of ships representing a dozen species, all responding to the evidence Thiela had broadcast. The Judicator, suddenly outnumbered, halted its pursuit. "The resistance is larger than I imagined," Thiela said in awe as their small craft slipped past the blockade. "People recognize the truth when they see it," Nathaniel replied, his hand finding hers on the control panel. "Your courage today has sparked something that can't be extinguished." As they plotted a course for the resistance outpost, the children gathered around the view screen, watching as the mining moon, their former home, receded into the distance. "Where will we go now?" asked Mila, her luminescent eyes wide with both fear and excitement. "Somewhere new," Thiela answered, feeling a certainty she hadn't experienced since before her academy days. "Somewhere we can build something better than what we left behind." 3 weeks later, their vessel touched down on a verdant moon in an unclaimed system far from Federation influence. They were greeted by a diverse community of scientists, former Federation officials, and refugees, all part of the growing movement Nathaniel had helped nurture over the years. As they stepped onto the lush surface, breathing unfiltered air for the first time in days, Thiela felt Nathaniel's fingers intertwine with hers. "What do you think?" he asked, gesturing to the settlement nestled among towering trees. "Could this be home?" Thiela looked at the children running ahead, already exploring their new surroundings with characteristic resilience. She thought of her former life, the structure, the certainty, the unquestioning loyalty, and felt no regret for its loss. "Home isn't a place," she said, turning to face him fully. Her hand rose to trace the contours of his face, still marveling at how natural such gestures had become between them. "It's where truth can be spoken, where justice actually means something, and where different species can find common ground," Nathaniel suggested, his arms encircling her waist. "Especially that," she agreed, her antennae brushing against his forehead in the Zeridian gesture of deepest affection. Above them, the settlement's communication array hummed with activity, more broadcasts, more revelations, more vessels breaking away from Federation control as the evidence she had released continued to spread across the galaxy. "I never expected my first mission would end like this," Thiela admitted as they walked toward their new community, hand in hand. "With you becoming the most famous whistleblower in Federation history?" Nathaniel asked with a grin. "With me finding a cause worth fighting for," she corrected, then added more softly, "and someone worth fighting alongside." As they reached the settlement's central gathering space, they were greeted by cheers and welcoming gestures from a dozen different species. The children raced ahead to meet their new neighbors, their traumas already beginning to heal in this atmosphere of acceptance and hope. Commander Vexus's final words to her had been true. Her career in enforcement was indeed over. But as Thiela stood beside Nathaniel, watching the sun set on their new beginning, she understood that what she had gained was immeasurably more valuable than what she had lost. She had arrived on that mining moon to make an arrest. Instead, she had broken chains, not just those that would have bound Nathaniel, but the invisible ones that had constrained her own understanding of justice. "By galactic law, you were under arrest," she whispered to Nathaniel as they stood together, watching their new community unfold before them. But it turns out, the law itself was the real criminal. His arm tightened around her waist, his lips brushing her temple. "Then I suppose we're both fugitives now." "Freedom fighters," she corrected with a smile, her violet skin luminescent with happiness as they turned toward their future, uncertain, dangerous, but undeniably theirs.